Mike, last week's theme song was extremely popular, but I'll leave it alone. People can go back and listen to it from last week. You know, I have something very positive to say about Congress for a change.
What's that?
Well, it's truly an amazing thing because despite the fact that I really do not approve of Attorney General William Barr, Congress is so ridiculous that they had me rooting for him. They were so rude and unprofessional in that hearing today. It was more like a whipping. They just brought him in to yell at him and didn't allow him to answer any questions.
I don't. We have more important things in this country than William Barr and his nonsense and whatever the fuck he's doing for the last year or not doing.
Yeah.
So I told the guys here, don't pay any attention to it. We do maybe one or two stories on it, minimal. I don't care about sound bites. I don't care about cute comments. I don't care about, ooh, he's witty. I don't care about if he fights with Popeye Wimpy Nadler.
We crashed his car on the way to the thing.
Yeah, what was he eating? Like, was he just coming from White Castle?
Yeah.
So Barr is a sideshow. Everything about him is a sideshow right now. The fact that they have this going on now, at this time, when everything else is going on, at the same time, I might add, and I don't want to get too off track with this guy because he's literally a time vampire, a time and effort vampire. Everybody puts all this time and these people are going to jail. This is happening. And he's like a vampire. He sucks the life right out of you, the DOJ, because nothing happens. It's so corrupt. It's like a vampire. So at the same time, he's sitting up there saying, oh, yeah, this blah, 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 blah. The Department of Justice and the White House and Wray are proposing $2 billion from the Coronavirus Relief Fund for a new FBI headquarters. So you tell me. Yeah, that's right. It's in the proposed GOP bill, right? So it came out today.
Wow.
So it's a dog and pony show. So, look over here, but don't look over here. Okay.
Wow.
From the Coronavirus Relief Fund. Why does the FBI need a $1.75 billion new headquarters? Wouldn't it be cheaper, Jason? Wouldn't it be cheaper to just build a federal prison, a new federal
prison? Put them all
prison,
in there.
And put them all in there. And cut out the middleman. You know what I mean? You can have half of it. Just stick them down the hall. Well, I'm sorry. You've been relocated. Oh, do I get a corner office? No, you get a corner cell. Get down the hallway.
The shoe.
So it's like, it's the greatest show on earth, okay? Well, anytime these people, it never ceases to amaze me how many people it fools and how people get excited. These hearings are all planned out when it comes to the bureaucrats. It's like a play. And they go out afterwards and they drink together and laugh. You got a good one on me. They got a zinger, and just like we talked about, it's all a show, okay?
Yeah.
It's all a show. The only people who throw a wrench into that are when regular people testify and give testimony, and they are literally wild cards because you never know what they're going to say because they because they're not toting the line, they're not on the script. Guys like Moynihan and Doyle, they go down there. It's like, whoa. I think you're being disrespectful, Mr. Moynihan. This is Congress. He's like, I don't give a fuck who you are.
He's like, you called me. That's what he said to them.
You called me, dummy. Like, this is my time. You guys aren't doing anything, and I'm not giving you what you want, so fuck up. And they're like, whoa, we're going to take a recess and figure out how we can get to the bottom of this. It's like, those are the guys that are wild cards. But any of this stuff, it's total nonsense with Barr. And he hasn't done anything. He did nothing during the BLM riots. Nothing. They tore down, ripped apart, torched cities and police departments. Okay, it's crazy, right? And it goes on and on and on. And then the FISA thing, I talked about it on this morning's podcast. It's a sideshow. These guys should already be in jail. And I've talked about this before, right? This isn't They're running out the clock is what's going on. And this is what happened
Absolutely.
today on the Hill is part of that.
Yeah.
They're getting everybody hepped up again. Now Fox will be talking about this all night. All the dopes on Fox, the host. Ooh, big action. Nothing's happening.
Yeah.
Right? Because nothing that ever happens of any consequence in DC happens on the Hill. Nothing. It's a fucking show. It's a play. That's all it is. And like I said, and we'll talk about Barr. It ceases to amaze me that so many people get sucked into this. It's absolutely insane that you can be distracted with a soundbite away from one of the most important stories of your life. Actually, I called it this morning. This is the story of your life. Yeah. This is your life now. This is your life. Who cares about Barr and that band of criminals? We all know they're criminals. How much more dirt do we have to uncover to show you they're even more of a criminal than they already are? You're not going if they're not going to jail for jaywalking, right? Who cares about uncovering, evidence of murder, so to speak?
They were more upset about Roger Stone at that hearing. I mean, it was just so much vitriol from the Democrats talking about investigating Barr to impeach him. I mean, I agree with you. It's like, who cares about any of this? You guys are focused on all the wrong stuff. And now you telling me that the FBI is going to pay for a new headquarters out of some coronavirus relief fund. That's absolutely absurd.
Proposed.
It's absurd. But while we're talking about coronavirus, I do want to let everybody know that in just about 25 minutes, when we begin the sponsor-exclusive show, Mike, it's going to be on subscribestar.com and patreon.com/truepundit and subscribestar.com and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. We're going to talk about, and we're going to give people a small preview of the forthcoming interview on tomorrow's Thomas Paine, tonight, this morning, super late. The next Thomas Paine podcast that's coming out, you have a bombshell interview with Dr. Judy Mikovits. She's going to put the heat to Dr. Fauci. And what do you want to tell us about that people are going to be able to hear on the sponsor exclusive show?
Well, I think that it's like anything else. Now I have a relationship with her. We were the first ones to break any kind of interview with her. We're the first ones on the podcast to break it. And I have a pretty good relationship with her where she feels comfortable with me after this time. And I think she's feeling a little bit more comfortable in her skin now, where she doesn't have to, every interview is not to impress people or, she's just kind of laying it. And so when you take those two things and you combine them, and it turned into a very powerful situation where she just wasn't holding anything back. And if you think she wasn't holding anything back before, like I did, this is a whole new level. I mean, this is a whole new level. Well, she really, it's just a vicious takedown of Fauci, things she never talked about. And it runs the gamut. There's so many different things. It's and we'll have it. We're going to play some clips tonight. As a matter of fact, I actually pulled some clips because I said people should get a taste of. And we're not done with the show for tomorrow. We're still working on the show. So what we have done so far, we pulled 2 or 3 clips, and it's great. It's literally, I mean, it's shocking the stuff that this guy was up to, and I think one of the major takeaways is that the people that he put in danger, researchers and things like that, and not to mention folks out here who have gotten bad vaccines and crappy vaccines and things like that. But the people that he had doing the research and development and the on these doing clinical trials, a lot of people got hurt and infected with different things and died. Yeah. And also, it's come out that a lot of people who were working in the trials, the
clinical trials,
clinical trials, the subjects who took a lot of vaccines that he was supervising, they had a high level of deaths.
That's not good. That's a negative outcome, Mike. Death is a negative outcome.
It's one thing after another, but and there's so many things we talk about masks, and she gives a good advice for parents who school districts now are talking about kids are going to have to wear masks all day. In Philadelphia, for instance, I've mentioned this sparingly. I hope to get to it this week. There's so much stuff we have we just can never get to. I know there's a bunch of stuff on your plate too. It's like, I got to get to that. I got to get to that. And then another week passes, another week passes, and you never get to it. But in Philadelphia, they're talking about parts of Philly, in suburban Philly, they're talking about kids have to wear a mask, a cotton mask or whatever, a cloth mask, and a face shield like you're showing
Crazy.
there.
Crazy.
Two things. I mean, how are you going to make it through the day?
Well, not only that, are we not cultivating a society of people with just like decades of weakened immune systems from not being exposed to any of the bacteria or pathogens that we're normally exposed to? I mean, this is like ridiculous.
Well, what happens if you get sick from your own carbon?
Right. Yeah.
You can't get, you're not exhaling, and
yeah. Mike, a lot of people in the comments are talking about how Judy Mikovits was, this whole thing with Sinclair. That's going to come up in your interview with her, right?
Well, here's what happened. I'll tell you what happened. I read this Saturday night. I was sitting at home, and I was looking at my phone. I was hanging out, and I said, "What's going on with this Sinclair thing, right?" And so I texted her. I said, "This is what it said. What the fuck is going on?"
That's an unusual text from you.
It's a very professional text, I thought, on my part. And she said, "Call me." And I said, "All right, give me a couple minutes." So I called her. This was like Saturday night, and she says, "Let's talk. I mean, this is a hell of a story." So I said, "All right, well, let's talk," and that's what we did. So. And then we've been working on it for a couple of days. So some of the things she said that are just fucking shocking. I mean, absolutely shocking.
But to be clear, they misquoted her, right? She didn't say that Fauci created COVID-19.
She didn't say that. However, she did say that you'll hear it in the interview because I asked her flat out, well, "What's your beef? Well, what happened?" So she did say that he laid the groundwork for this by working with the lab in Wuhan and funding these things and shipping the virus over there to be tested, for years ago and things like that. But she didn't specifically say that he created it. She said you have to listen to it. You have to listen to it. But here's the point, right? They do this stuff and she agrees, so they can throw the whole thing out the window. Like, CNN comes in and says, ooh. And some of what happens at the Sinclair stations, I think it ran on the main show, and then the affiliates get the show, and they're like, "We can't play this. This is going to upset our viewers." And, and then it snowballs, but it's based on, again, just like everything else, junk information, junk science, junk truths. She didn't say that, right? And if you watch the interview, she doesn't say that. But they're able to, the affiliates were able to put a lot of pressure, and then the mainstream media comes swooping in and says, whoa. She said that Fauci manufactured coronavirus. That's a conspiracy theory.
Right.
And then they pull it, and then guess what? Nobody sees her talking about Fauci and what Fauci
the story
did.
becomes that they pulled it, not what Fauci did. This is what they always want to do, and this is what they were doing in Congress today. They're saying things like, "Oh, George Floyd was a humble man." It's like, look, let's be clear. He shouldn't have been killed. But don't start telling me a porno star who's involved in drug use and counterfeit money and all and working with crooked cops. He's not a humble man. There were a lot of problems there with what was going on in that relationship between Chauvin and Floyd. We don't want to go to that right now, but along the lines of what you were saying about Fauci, TruePundit.com has a couple of stories about these doctors, including a woman is she from Senegal? Where was this African doctor from?
Yeah, I was reading up on her. I don't know where she's from originally.
She had a lot of good things to say.
She seems like she's got a good, she got a
white
good head
supremacy?
on her. Look, I don't know what I think is white coat supremacy is what it is with these people.
But she had a very good message. And wasn't it her who challenged Fauci to take a urine test because she was so certain that he's taking hydroxychloroquine?
Fauci or anybody in Congress, I mean, that's healthy, that's walking around without a mask. She says there's a definitive, highly definitive chance that they're taking it behind the scenes, while at the same time they're bashing it.
Right.
And the FDA right on cue when social media platforms. See, guys, I have to tell
She's
you
from
guys,
Nigeria.
if you haven't figured it out, they all work together. It's all one cabal. The press is part of the left. Okay, they banned these folks yesterday on Breitbart. They took down Breitbart's video on Facebook, Twitter, right, and then people who were sharing it started getting banned. And at the same time, the same day, the FDA comes out and says, "Oh, hydroxychloroquine isn't really effective in fighting COVID." The same day. Come on, this is like this is all right. And then on the same day, they say, Moderna, which is backed by Bill Gates, they're in stage 3 of the FDA clinical trials for a vaccine for COVID-19. And you're like, wait a second, stage 3? These things take years. What's it been, a couple weeks? You know what? You guys line up and take the vaccine. You can help thin out the herd because there's way too many idiots in this country. Go ahead, you guys. Yeah. Are you coming? Yeah. I'm right behind you. About 4 years. Go ahead.
4 years,
Go
more like 40.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? After I send all you guys flowers and your family flowers, yeah, and then I'll think about taking it after, there's been enough carnage where maybe they get it right. Is it, you see how they're doing it? They're banning anybody who talks about a cheap, effective solution. And they want
any
to
dissenting voice, anything that's not 100% in lockstep with the message gets shut down by whatever means they require.
And this isn't going to be a polio vaccine, guys, where you get one shot in the arm and you go about your way and it's good for a lifetime. You're going to get 4 or 5 pops on this. They're going to keep coming. You're going to have to keep going. And God forbid, I can only imagine if you start the vaccine and then don't finish it, they'll probably show up at your house with a SWAT team and put a staple gun in your arm, in the middle of the night. I wish I was kidding, but you can't put anything past these people. So it's going to be 4 or 5 shots, maybe more. Every time you go to the doctor, what's going to happen? You walk into the doctor's office, you're on the hook for 3 or 4 copays. Oh, it's free. Don't worry.
Right.
Oh,
well, your tax money's going to pay for it.
Yeah. Oh, really? But every time I go to the doctor, I got to drop 30, 40, 50. I mean, I was on right after I had troubles with the government. We were on some kind of a scheme, health insurance, but it was $85 for a copay to go. If you had a head cold, it was $85, and it's like, wait a minute,
not nothing.
So you're talking about what? Hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars you're going to have to put into this quote unquote free vaccine.
You got kids. It's going to add up real quick. And who wants it? You don't even want it. I'm glad you brought this up, Mike, because, this is right in line with what Dersh said to me. This kicked off Dershgate when he said the government has the right to force you to be vaccinated. There's a litany of people who have taken this video, excised the Crowdsource the Truth logo, and tried to get people to focus on Dersh's opinion comments about mandatory vaccine. This was recently done on Valuetainment, where Dershowitz was debating Robert Kennedy Jr., and I think Robert Kennedy flattened him. There were a lot of problems I had with that Valuetainment interview, including them misleading me as to how the clip would be used. I'm not going to say too much more about that, but I don't trust Dershowitz. I don't trust this whole kind of beating of the drum to get people ready for mandatory vaccines. And I do think they're trying to distract people from things that he said in the original interview about his relationship with Epstein, the Clintons, the Rothschilds, everything that's going on now with Ghislaine Maxwell. That has conveniently kind of drifted out of the news. I don't think we're ever going to see her again, Mike.
Where is she?
Exactly.
We're going to get David Copperfield and Doug Henning to figure out where this chick is. I mean,
what happened to
ridiculous.
Doug Henning?
No, but I don't know. He's probably deceased, right? God rest his soul. Went too many magic tricks.
He died in 2000.
Well, then we're a little bit behind on the times.
Yeah, it's not exactly news.
Yeah, he's still a great go-to for our generation. When you say, "Slow down, Doug Henning," when somebody does something. People are like, it still works. If you said it now, they're like, who the hell's Doug Henning?
I used to love Doug Henning magic shows on like NBC when I was a kid. I used to watch that.
Yeah, now the new Doug Henning magic show was on the Hill today. They just have different guys.
Exactly.
Like the new magician are the people that they put in front of the microphone to trick you. And it's fun. It's funny that we're talking about this because that's all this is. What we're just talking about too is also a massive distraction. That's all it is from what we should be focusing on. And people, they throw so much
of COVID.
They throw so much crap at us, and it's like, whoa, wait a second, what's happening here? And we have to stay focused. It's very challenging to stay focused. Even what they're doing to these doctors, it's like, okay, the doctors had their website taken down too.
Yeah.
Like deplatform. It's like, wait a second. And you know what that does? Now people really want to say, well, what's this all about?
Right.
Where can I get this video at? So they came back out today with a new video. You know what I mean? They came back out with a new video, and they just did the whole thing. They went and just repeated the whole thing on the steps of the Supreme Court, which I give them credit for. You know, hopefully they got another free night in D.C. And they can go out and check out the sites that their tax dollars and their parents and grandparents and great-grandparents' tax dollars were used to build an incredible city and a monument to itself, which now it stands for a little more than a monument to corruption, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. But give them credit because they came back right in your face. And but here's the rub. This is why we do stuff on Patreon, right? If I aired this Mikovits interview on YouTube, it would last a couple hours. What she says about Fauci is it's really on the edge, but I'm comfortable with it. Right? Because everything she said about him so far has been spot on. So if I caught her at a good time and we have a good rapport, kudos to me. But if I had to depend on just YouTube or Twitter or Facebook to put that out, I would be toast.
Well, nobody would get to see it is what it comes down to. You and I would be off these platforms long ago. Nobody would get to see the content at all. So, by putting it on a subscription-based platform where people can go to subscribestar.com/truepundit, patreon.com/truepundit, and Subscribestar and Patreon/crowdsource the truth. We're allowing people to have access to this and have a choice rather than allowing these so-called free platforms to choose what you do or do not get to see. We only have a couple minutes left, Mike, and I know that I can anticipate what you're going to say about this, and I think I agree. But we've got Matt Gaetz asking the DOJ to launch a criminal investigation into Zuckerberg. I think they filed this right behind Devin Nunes criminal referrals. What do you think about this?
Gates has a history of grandstanding and things like that, but I'll take anything. I think most people would agree. I'll take any heat on Zuckerberg that we can get. So it's a win-win, and maybe Gates can redeem himself for a couple previous stunts. At least he's trying to do something, and let's just see how it plays out. But it's better than doing nothing. I think that's basically how I feel about it, and we'll give him an opportunity to see how it plays out. And simple as that. Does that make any sense?
It does. And if being smug were even so much as a misdemeanor, this guy and Eric Schmidt would be in jail already. But we're going to have to rely on perjury and other things like that. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. I think Mark Zuckerberg is one of these guys who's probably never going to go to jail because he's just too connected and too rich and all that sort of thing. But we are just about out of time here, Mike. So people who are going to join us will be starting in just 5 minutes. We're going to be getting into a preview of Mike Moore's explosive interview with Dr. Judy Mikovits, where she reveals even more stunning information about her time working with Dr. Fauci. People are going to get a little preview of it on the Patreon show. And then, of course, the full interview will air late tonight, the early hours of Wednesday morning on the Thomas Paine podcast, which people can listen to on iTunes, on Google Podcasts, all over the place. Mike, we'll be back in just 5 minutes, and I'll see you over there.
Looking forward to it.
Absolutely. And thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you
on
Patreon and Subscribestar.